Greetings, brothers and sisters. Another Hollywood celebrities dropping like flies.
They're dropping like flies.
Listen, people are dropping like flies out there.
I am
Boop.
pissed off.
We're dropping like flies around here.
We're dropping like flies here.
Jeez, sir, 2 more just went down. Dropping like flies.
Too many people around here been dropping like flies already, and where's that getting us, huh? Nowhere. Fast.
Biden's being Biden's being extremist.
Crush that fly.
So I want to cover 2 stories here. The smoke stuff, I covered it yesterday on my other channel. I have a story that I forgot about. My son reminded me of. And then I want to do an update on Jaime Foxx, and I want to go to a voiceover and tell those stories and things. And then a bunch of things to get to. Apparently there was an alien sighting in Las Vegas that the local news is covering. So that's interesting. 3 people sent me stuff about that and just all the other things. But let's get started here on the Today Show with Al Roker. He's been on Hollywood Celebrities Dropping Like Flies a lot lately. And 3 other people who I don't know who they are.
It was interesting how many people quickly grabbed their masks yesterday. You see everybody out and about. So a lot of people are wondering about the health impact of this smoky air. Let's bring
So are the masks there to help against the smoke, right? The smog?
NBC News medical contributor Dr. Natalie Azar. She's here to share some warning signs, what we should all watch out for, how to protect ourselves. Good morning to you.
Morning, guys.
I think the biggest thing we're worried about, and for our kids as well, is how this is affecting our lungs and how long we should be outside.
I know, all of that stuff. So, you know, we run down this drill now. We know that the people who are most vulnerable, the young, the elderly, pregnant people, individuals who have respiratory conditions, and also people who have underlying heart disease. Anything that stresses the lung can stress the heart. Please remember that. In the way it affects our lungs, it causes inflammation, those particulate matter, right? Causes inflammation. It increases the risk of infection. It definitely can worsen underlying respiratory conditions, and it can also worsen allergies.
Kaboom. All these things are happening.
As Chanel mentioned, folks grabbing their masks around here in New York State, spreading them out. What else can we do besides masks? Whether we're
It's been established that masks are effective. Like, is there any scientific evidence that masks help against Canadian fires? Is that just, oh, we have them and, like, you know, they're going to be something that's going to absorb the smoke? You know, what is it that you're saying here, Al? Is this backed by science?
Indoors or outdoors.
Right. So, you know, I'm sure everyone by now knows this airnow.gov. Have you guys all Googled it? And so we definitely...
You know, when I had to wear a mask, it caused an asthmatic response and a heat in my lungs and my esophagus that was unpleasant. It inhibited my ability to breathe and created a panic reaction in my system. And so I didn't know that going into it. I didn't think it would be a problem. And I had very breathable masks. But it was just something, the heat, like, you know, whatever, the heat that was, when I was exhaling, that was there, and then whatever else, you know, it was very difficult for me to wear them for long periods of time. And I've, you know, seldom had to wear them. And like I said, they weren't, you know, the masks that are very, like, you know, pharmaceutical grade, you know, whatever, N15, whatever they're called. I wear very breathable masks. Let me emphasize that. But for me, it inhibited my ability to breathe. And, you know, it hurt my lungs. And if it wasn't blocking the particles on top of it, which I don't know if it does or not in terms of, you know, I wore one years ago for allergies when I cut the grass, and it you know, it fogged up my glasses and it just was uncomfortable, right? And I was like, well, I'll just do a neti pot and I'll do other things. And, you know, that's what I did. But I've been open to wearing masks because of something like this in terms of allergies and things like that. But it just doesn't work out for me. And I don't like it. So, you know, when they say things like this and there's no science behind it, right? And it might actually create a, you know, worse situation with your breathing. It could, you know, help trigger something, right? An asthmatic response. Anyways.
want people to be aware of what their air quality is outside. So airnow.gov is the EPA's website. You can find out where your number is. This morning we were in the 200s. Yesterday we were in the hazardous zone. You want to wear a mask outside, and that means an N95 or a KN95, not a surgical mask. That won't do. When you're indoors, close your windows and your doors. Make sure, if you can have a HEPA filter. Air circulation is probably key here. If you haven't...
Okay, so they're saying to wear a mask here, right? Which I would like to see the science behind it, because there are things that are particulates, that are particles in whatever it is, right, in the air. And they either were blocked by the mask or they're not, right? They're, and I don't know what's in the Canadian smoke. It would be great if they did a breakdown of the things that they're finding in the smoke, finding in what you're breathing. What are the things? Because that's going to come into play later. I've experienced a little bit here. It doesn't smell bad, but the sky's a little hazy. It's not nearly as bad as New York, right? But there are, areas where it's thick smoke that you're breathing. What's in that smoke? What's in it? What are the chemical breakdown of it? What are the things that, in it are going to cause health issues? What health issues are they going to cause? And what are the things that you can do that will help you prevent those things from happening? Like, is there breathing exercises? Is there like say HEPA filter in your house? That seems like a good idea. Good air circulation, like leaving your windows down. I mean, all those things. Minimizing the amount of smoke that's getting to you. But again, I'm not sure about the mask, but maybe it does help. I don't know. I don't know. But is there research behind all this, right? And do you know what's in the smoke? Do you know how small the particles are? Do you know how to prevent people from, what's the way to minimize the amount of particulates that you're getting?
An air conditioner, make sure it's set on recirculating air. If you have fans, turn them all on, and watch out for bathroom fans and also the hood, because if they blow in air from the outside, you don't want that to happen. A couple of other really good tips, guys. Some people like to burn essential oils.
Sure.
No, that's just increasing the number of aerosols.
Candles as well.
Candles, but all those essential oils, they give off a lot of those that aerosol. No. Good time to not vape and smoke in the house. Make sure that you're...
So I was watching a video by Dr. Berg, which I want to talk about when I go to the narrative. But he was saying that some of the vaping components or whatever they put in a vape pipe has antifreeze in it. And, there's that element. I would agree with the essential oils and things like this, is that, I'm very susceptible. Like if somebody's wearing clothes that smell of Tide, I can't wear clothes when I couldn't wash my clothes with, crappy smells. I don't like the smells of when they put, whatever odor, smells that they put in like garbage bags now, or whatever it is, that artificial smell they do that's supposed to make things smell better, but it doesn't. And the fragrances they put in like Tide or any, commercial detergent. I can't wear clothes like that, right? If I were to buy clothes at Goodwill or something that smell of that, I have to wash them a couple of times before I wear them, because I can smell it. It's, it doesn't, I don't have asthma or anything like that, but it bothers me. And anything that's, when you're having trouble breathing, I was having issues with COVID, you want to keep as much of that stuff away. Whatever it is, any kind of scents and things, because they're all, it's something added to the air, right? You want like pure, just like when you want to drink pure water if you're sick, rather than like soda or something, right? So some of this stuff I would think is, positive, but I'd like to hear what the cause is, right?
Medications and inhalers are up to date, and you have them at home if you're an asthmatic, and especially those rescue inhalers like albuterol, 15 minutes before you go outside if you're an asthmatic.
Chanel mentioned that we saw the kids coming out of school yesterday with masks on, so they were ready to go. I was walking my...
They were ready to go. They're really pushing the masks here.
Dog several times outside yesterday. I mean, are pets, are children safe? Should all outdoor activities be canceled?
To the degree, yes. Right now, until we're back in the healthy zone, my son's track meet, the last of his high school season was canceled, and it's like, wow, you really went out, but yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to come back to this. Let's go to the Jaime Foxx update, and I'll cover both these things in a So here, Jamie Foxx blind blood clot isn't producing anything. Just stuff from a couple of days ago. But Jamie Foxx, when you Google Jamie Foxx, there are a number of articles here, starting with this one from MSNBC. Unsubstantiated claim that Jamie Foxx was hospitalized after COVID boop is going viral on social media. And so this guy, his representative, said here, let me see if we can find that part. I definitely can find it, just got to scroll down. He said, Fox representative said in an email that Benza's completely inaccurate. And so that's their debunking of this, right? Although Fox was hospitalized for an undisclosed illness in April, his daughter, Corinne Foxx, has said in an Instagram story post that he has been home for weeks and was well enough to play pickleball, which has all been, removed. Still, that hasn't stopped Benza's disputing claim from running rampant on social media. Now, they didn't cover Benza's claim like it was a story, just like they didn't cover Hunter Biden, right? And this is Fox News here, shows you how bad Fox News sucks. Jamie Foxx rep says hospitalization not caused by COVID. Boop, report says. And then Newsweek, Fox rep shuts down COVID. Boop, conspiracy theory. And so they don't shut it down because they just said, it's an unsubstantiated claim, right? Completely inaccurate. Why did they wait 5 days? So let's go to the voiceover and I'll get into both of these things. Days ago. So this is, I covered it the last 3 times. So this is almost a week, right? So every other day, that's 6 days. This is the 7th day that I've covered this. So since the story broke, it's taken them 6 or 7 days to debunk it, to say that it wasn't true. His official people. And that's a lame, saying it's completely inaccurate is a lame debunking of the story. Clearly, that's, just more confirming it than it's debunking it. Because why not tell the full story? Is he paralyzed? Is he blind? Right? Can he see and can he walk? Because we know he's gone to a rehabilitation center. Did he get the you-know-what before he got sick? Because that could have happened, right? Maybe that happened. We don't know if it happened or not. But if it did that happen, right? Did that, he get the you-know-what and then get sick? Well, that would be, maybe not proof. Like I said, it's going to be impossible to prove the you-know-what had anything to do with it. But certainly if he got it and then he got sick a couple days later or right afterwards, that would be, pretty, condemning. The representative could say, no, he's not paralyzed. No, he's not blind. And no, he didn't get the rooster. He could totally say that, right? He could say that none of the story, it's completely untrue. Well, if it's completely untrue, is he paralyzed? Well, yes, because we know he went to a rehabilitation center. He's learning how to walk again or whatever. Is he blind? Well, we don't know. Either he is or he isn't, but you're not denying that. And did he get the rooster, like right before? Those would be the 3 things that you could deny specifically. No, he didn't get it. No, he's not these other things. The story's completely inaccurate. All these things are not true. And so he's not specifically denying any of these claims. He's doing a general denial. Oh, it's completely inaccurate. He's only partially blind, right? He can walk a little bit, like he's, only slightly paralyzed. I mean, whatever it is, right? Only partially paralyzed. And so that's not completely inaccurate. That's, cherry picking the story, right? And so waiting so long and not really giving specifics makes it just confirm what we already, I'm more believing the story now than when I first heard it. And when I first heard it, I'm like, it might be true, and I'm not saying it's fact. I never did, because you can't prove it, and it's just rumor and a anonymous source from a gossip columnist, right? So we don't know if it's true or not. Like it's not a slam dunk. It's not fact. But this denial is making it more true than not, right? Did they get paid off by some pharmaceutical company or somebody? I mean, any number of things could happen. Handlers came in, who knows? But this isn't debunking or whatever. So let's get back to the air quality stuff here. So a few things about the smoke and the air quality. My son reminded me, because we were talking about this, and he had heard about it, and we were talking about going outside and doing yard work or whatever it was. It wasn't really bad here, and whatever. But like I said, who knows what's in the fire? Like, you never know what's in the smoke, because whatever's being burned, if they're, whatever it might be, there's toxins. If it hits some chemical plant, something, plastics, whatever, I mean, if it's just trees, it's one thing. But even that, there's toxicity that comes out of like burning firewood, carcinogens and things. And so, what's in this smoke? Like, what's in it? Because that's as important as how much smoke there is. What's the chemical breakdown? And he reminded me of the story, when I was in high school, I got poison ivy everywhere, like from head to toe. And my eyes closed. I couldn't see for 2 or 3 days. They completely closed. I couldn't open my eyes. So I just laid in bed. I was basically blind from the swelling. And we kind of figured out it was poison ivy. I don't know if it was something else. I don't think I went to the doctor or anything. I mean, it was just, laying in bed waiting for it to go away. And, it kind of sucked. It lasted for about a week or so. And then I went to college, and I rented an apartment, and one of my buddies was, wanted to be a roommate, needed a place to live. And he had his former roommate from the dorms, who I knew a little bit. And me and this guy started talking, and he said when he was younger, he had the same thing happen. Like, he just brought it up. I didn't say anything. And he talked about getting poison ivy. He said his neighbor burned some poison ivy, and the oils were released into the air, and he breathed it in, and he had he got poison ivy on his lungs even, right? And so I don't know if that's what happened to me, but it sounded very similar. So you understand, like, that's somebody just burning poison ivy next door to you. Like, he wasn't there breathing it in over the fire. And, you wouldn't even know that, right? And, of course, we know about the chemical poisoning and World War I and things like this and air quality. And also, in a lot of these apocalyptic movies, with the Book of Eli as an example of this, and the movie The Road, it talked about the air quality. I got into this when I wrote, my sequel to The Choice, Egregore, which I haven't published. But a lot of the post-apocalyptic world is going to be poor air quality. The world is going to be, if you talk about nuclear bombs and, in the predictions of the Whispers of the Brighter World, it talked about, fire raging down on one part of the world and rain pouring on the other. But you've seen the post-apocalyptic world, the air quality is horrible. This is beyond CO2 and global warming, but pollutants. And then, you see what just happened with Canada's being on fire. We know about the Dust Bowl before this. But be grateful that you can go out and breathe clean, fresh air now. Be positive about it. It's not guaranteed. There's been times of poor air quality. They say that's what killed the dinosaurs. I don't know. And, these types of things. But I got a Neanderthal thing with Chrissy Teigen coming up. It reminded me that I'll play that next. And so it's something for people to be aware of, that air quality is not something that's guaranteed. And I don't know, what's going to happen in the future, but going out and breathing fresh air, like going on vacation by the beach or going into the mountains and things, like, you imagine not being able to do that. And that seems to be where our future's heading, where going outside is not something that you can even conceive of, because the air has been wrecked by humans or, natural catastrophes or whatever it might be. It's something to be appreciative and grateful for, because breathing is something we take for granted until you can't. People with asthma, when I had COVID, whatever it might be, that when you realize how, important it is to breathe. And this thing with Dr. Berg I watched, I'll talk about that later when there's a COVID thing coming up. And so, but there's something there that a new realization that I had. And also yesterday I covered this in a video. I covered the air quality, and it got copyrighted late. It took forever to upload. I had slow internet, and then it took a while for them to process it, and I got copyrighted for a stupid Sharon Stone speech. So I put the complete video up on the members portion, and that's something I'm able to do now. I've had these videos that were yellowed, and I have to redo them, or they never get to be seen by people. And now I can put them up on the members only, and so they don't have to be monetized, and there's no real issues with them. So I did that yesterday, and the full version of that video exists there. It's like a 3-minute difference, a 3-minute part that I had to take out because of the copyright. Anyways, let's get into this thing with Chrissy Teigen.
Insane 24 hours. As some of you know, I've been on a bit of a journey for the past few years, but...
Yeah, like everyone else. Like we're all on a journey. Life's a journey. Only you, and only the past 2 years.
Especially the past year, of health and wellness and trying to figure out a lot about my past and my family and typical stuff we're all curious about.
Okay. No one's really curious about your past and your family, but go ahead.
With the encouragement of my therapist and doctor, I did 23andMe, which...
So you need your doctor and your therapist to give you encouragement?
Actually, I had done like a few years ago.
Something you've already done a few years ago?
But I had never done like a more deep dive. I had just done a heritage thing.
No deep dive. So now she's going deep.
So I paid for some of the upgrades, and the first thing that came up after I found out that I was part Neanderthal.
Wait. Okay, now that makes sense. She's part Neanderthal. Like we knew it. So we knew there was something there. Now it all falls into place. A drunken Neanderthal. Okay, so I went to this Air Now, and I bookmarked it, as much as you can trust the government. But it's, New York City, it's much better there today. So I wish I knew about this before. Again, as much as you can trust the government. John Mulaney's ex-wife was hospitalized for severe suicidal ideation prior to divorce. Anna Marie Tiedler revealed that she has suffered from a severe mental health breakdown, was hospitalized before a divorce with John Mulaney. He went into rehab himself for drug addiction, so they both had a dropping like flies moment. She was hospitalized for self-harm and severe suicidal ideation the first 2 weeks of 2021. If you see her art, she's an artist, and you just look at her, you know that this is true, right? And so he left her and married that actress, whatever her name is, and now they have a kid. But they both had a dropping like flies moment in 2021. Wendy Williams' son Kevin Jr. looks a lot like Wendy here. Says he fears his mom is near death, and claims people are taking advantage of her. That's what he looks like. You could tell they're related. Scientists are trying to find a mysterious mystery person in Ohio who has some new kind of COVID and is shedding it into the sewage. So that's kind of interesting. Cryptic COVID lineages are new versions of a virus that haven't been seen before. Researchers are saying one person in Ohio is shedding massive amounts of a new kind of COVID. Identifying people with mysterious strains can help scientists to preempt dangerous mutations. And so it sounds like they're, well, let me see if it says it here. Johnson told insiders that he's been identifying cryptic COVID lineages in wastewater around the country since 2021. So they're going into sewage water and they're testing it and they're finding there's these strains of COVID or whatever is there. And then they want to figure out who's dumping it. So that can't lead to anything good, right? who's, you know, they're going to go door to door and test you now and say, hey, somebody's crapping out COVID. Let's stop here. Let me just do this thing with Dr. Berg. Okay, so I watched this video by Dr. Berg. He's, you know, a chiropractor who's been helpful for me in the past. It appeared in my YouTube feed. The hidden source of heart attacks that you've never considered. You know, I've been concerned about my heart, unfortunately, since COVID. And I recently had these back spasms, which, you know, I went to the chiropractor yesterday, and I've never had that kind of reaction. Like, chiropractic is something that's been helpful at times, and sometimes it's not. But yesterday it was. And it just released all this stress I was having in my back. And, you know, I didn't have the, you know, I had a number of nights where I was worried I was going to have another spasm and weird spasms and things. And the first time I had it, I thought it was a heart attack. And so it's always been there that might be what it is, right? Even though I'm pretty sure it was a spasm. But after getting the work done, and, you know, he mentioned, you know, his grandfather, father-in-law also works on tractors. And, you know, if you work on lawnmowers and you want to spend a lot of time on equipment, it has a negative effect on your back, which is, I think, what happened with me. Otherwise, my health has been great. My heart has been fine. I've had some, like, minorly pain in, like, my left, like, under my arm and things like this. So that's been a little bit of concern. But anyways, since COVID, I've taken more interest in my heart and things like this because of the issues, right? And so I looked up, and it's confirmed that, before I get into this stuff here, that there is antifreeze in low doses of vaping. And the hidden cause of heart attacks was adrenaline. People who are in a state of stress all the time and are in a flight or flight type of situation, which is also caused by smoking cigarettes. It causes people to gain weight, and it is, you know, a contributor to getting rid of having low levels of oxygen in the heart, which is a big part of why heart attacks happen, which he explained. And I found this interesting because I feel like from having COVID and waking up, you know, gasping for breath or having trouble breathing at night, and then, of course, the boop, there is, to me, that's probably a contributor to all these heart issues people are having in the post-COVID era, where kids are dropping like flies, because there's, you know, COVID's robbing people of oxygen in one way or another. This, you know, this element, the spike protein, whatever's going on here, and of course the you-know-what. And I just, you know, it was an idea that came to me while I was watching this, that this is, you know, also how stressed out everybody has been since COVID, increasing the levels of, you know, when you're stressed out, it has a negative effect on your physical body and your heart and things like this. And there's a weakness, you know, so this is why so many kids are, you know, depressed, and, you know, they have all these, you know, they just live in a, you know they have no future, right? The good news is that pretty much all the things that he was saying, I don't do. You know, he's talking about a high sugar diet, and then, you know, of course, not smoking cigarettes, and all the things he was talking about here that causes heart attacks. I don't do any of them, right? And also he talked about going for walks and being out in nature to get rid of some of the adrenaline or the stress, which is something I do. Of course, I meditate on the heart, which all these things, you know, made me feel good that if I do have a heart issue, it's not anything that's related to my behaviors or my diet or things like this, right? Which I kind of already knew, but it was good to hear that again, because, like, I'm doing all I can. And if COVID has, you know, created a condition, which I don't think it has, I think I'm just having weird reactions, like I said, the whole, you know, whatever. But anyways, let's move on to the next thing here. Ancient tree rings reveal unimaginable 2-year solar storm that could destroy global infrastructure. So there it is. Right? There's a solar storm in the tree. Nice graphic there. And so, that would, the idea here is that the magnetic field will be taken down. I've talked about this before. And these solar flares, which could destroy the electrical grid, amongst other things, EMPs. And so it says here, a Miyake event refers to something sinister coming from Earth from the sun. And we know how often they occur because they leave an imprint in tree rings. Since it's impossible to count tree rings to identify its age, it's also possible, since it is possible to count a tree ring to identify its age, it's also possible to see historical cosmic events going back thousands of years. A Miyake event is specifically when tree rings reveal a level of isotope called carbon-14 about 20 times as high as normal. Huge tree bursts of cosmic radiation, known as Miyake events, have occurred approximately once every 1,000 years, but what causes them is unclear. And so the effect of global infrastructure could become unimaginable. Pope led a team, not the Pope, a guy named Pope, led a team that developed software to analyze every available piece of data on the rings of millennia-old trees. When radiation strikes the atmosphere, it produces radioactive carbon-14, which filters through the air, oceans, plants, and animals, and produces an annual record of radiation in 3 rings. And said here that events are caused by solar flares. We know the sun has a sunspot cycle of 11 years long when it waxes through the solar system, and apparently they've discovered that it's imminent, right? It's happened in the past, and it looks like it's going to happen in the near future. So we got that going for us. Then there's Chris Light celebrates humiliating CNN ouster with fancy dinner with Nancy Pelosi. I don't think celebrating and fancy dinner with Nancy Pelosi are the same thing. One-time wonderkin Chris Light was yesterday ousted from his plum job at Helma CNN just 1 year into his contract after a calamitous series of jaw-dropping errors. Maybe someone should tell Chris Light. Mere hours after his boss seemed to solely take responsibility for hiring him in the first place. Page 6 hears that Light, 51, was living up the clubby Midtown haunt with the Polo Bar with a similar ejected former Chief of Staff Devin Kayea and former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. So that happened. Okay, here's an elephant. This woman comes close to her and bam, like take that, boop. Look at her. She's trying to get her shoe up. The elephant's crossing. She's trying to feed it, and the elephant's not having it. And I don't like you. Get away from me, you hoe. And so, like people just don't understand. Like, look at this. Look at the size of the thing, right? Elephants are extremely intelligent, but that doesn't mean they're not going to go after you. Just like the killer whales. The year's 2030. Thanks for your compliance and enjoy. Here's your Agenda 21 housing with your bathtub underneath your bed, your tiny bathtub. And that's your living area. Pretty wild stuff going on in Las Vegas. Here's the police footage of a UFO event that's going viral. I'll show you better videos. I got this on Instagram, but 2 other people sent me links to local news in Vegas.
Southern Nevada is abuzz tonight with stories about the crash of an unknown object and the alleged sighting of strange creatures in the backyard of a Northwest Valley home.
So it was last night that 8 News Now investigator David Charnes reported about how Metro Police responded back on May 1st.
Kaboom! A UFO story on local news in Vegas.
After receiving a strange call from a very frightened family. Well, our report generated a global response, and now piecing together the sequence of events has been kind of tricky, in part because
it's kind of tricky because, the government's involved now.
because the primary witnesses have been almost as elusive as the beings they say they encountered. Chief Investigator George Knapp is as perplexed as the rest of us, George.
As you know, this is not our first UFO rodeo. We first
There's plenty of them out in Vegas.
heard about the incident in early May via the Metro Police grapevine. The incident has a lot in common with other bizarre cases from around the world: an alleged crash, strange beings, and bits and pieces that don't make sense. But the police took this seriously, and so do we.
There's the police footage.
Before midnight on April 30th, skywatchers across several western states saw a bright fireball streak through the heavens. A police officer working in the Northwest Valley caught a glimpse of the colorful object on his body cam. At nearly the same time, a Ring camera in the area recorded a strange noise and what sounds like a crash. One family living in a ranch-style home had a much closer view of the object. Two brothers and their father were working on a vehicle in their yard when they caught a glimpse of a sparkly object as it came crashing down, then were hit by what they describe as a shock wave. One of the witnesses, a young man named Angel, has stated when the brothers looked into the yard where the object landed, that spot was obscured and blurry, as if by unknown form of camouflage. What they saw next prompted a frantic call to 911.
So there's two people or two subjects that are in your backyard?
Correct, and they're very large. They're like 8 foot.
8 foot tall, so there's some giants out there.
9 feet, 10 foot. I don't know. They look like aliens to us. Big eyes. They have big eyes, like I can't explain it. And big mouth. They're shiny eyes, and they're not human.
So kaboom, you know, I believe that there's life out there. I mean, it's part of my belief system. It's part of the Sajmar belief system. You know, reports of these things, and it's part of a historical record that has been downplayed or minimized, but you can see it in all kinds of ancient artwork and ancient cultures, Aboriginal cultures, and, you know, just a presence of alien life, spaceships, astronauts, you know, statues and works of art, things like that, right? Cave paintings, and then just reports of this. So it's only fairly recently that there's been dispute that there's, you know, some sort of technologically advanced beings that have come to Earth. Before the past couple thousand years, it was well known. Everybody knew it, but it's been suppressed for whatever reason. And it was, you know, people would see them, see spaceships and things like this. So again, I believe all of this stuff. I don't know if this is true, but I know that there's life outside of this planet. But because of religious leaders and a controlling system that wanted to, you know, if you had this idea that there were higher developed beings out there, either spiritual beings or, you know, advanced alien technology and things like this, the government would seem weak and powerless because, you know, it would be, right? And so this is some of the reason why they've pushed back against these stories. Here is
It is the police call everybody will be talking about. Thanks for joining us here at 6 o'clock. I'm Denise Valdez.
I'm Brian Loftus. A family says something crashed into their backyard, prompting them to call 911.
So this is the original video.
And they saw creatures walking around.
So this is being covered by the news media and, you know, in Vegas. So that happened. Adam Devine says he and his wife witnessed a man gunned down outside his $2.6 million home. It's on some sort of comedy show here.
I see these dudes, and it's like fun to sit and watch, and me and my wife just sit up on our balcony and we're like, oh, this looks crazy. And
His wife and his wife?
yeah, Chloe's here somewhere. And dude, this is where it gets.
You were saying that, not me.
This is where it gets sad. Someone was murdered there.
Wait. Tee it up again. Tee it up. Wait, not yet. Okay, tee it up again.
Someone was murdered there.
That's a down. Woo! Someone's murdered. Woo! Porn star Mariah Mills makes bombshell claim. Zion Williamson claim after girlfriend pregnancy reveal. So this is the porn star Mariah Mills, And his girlfriend came out, or his baby mom, or whatever it was, he's not married to her, and posted on social media she was pregnant. And this porn star then wrote a tweet here. Better pray I'm not pregnant too, because I'm definitely late. Zion Williamson. I was with you last week in New Orleans, and you couldn't tell me you had a random thought pregnant after all I got for you, Zion Williamson. So she's put all these tweets up, which has helped get her name out there to people who, most of us don't even know who she is. And there's his girlfriend. Seemed to fire back at Mills' claims in a later tweet. And so there's been this. Happy hoes ain't hating, and hating hoes ain't happy. So that happened, right? And there's their announcement there of a baby. And so Zion Williamson has been a disappointment as an NBA player. He's incredibly big and strong and has like crazy hops, jumping ability and ability to dunk the basketball. And I mean, just, he's known as someone who's a unicorn, somebody that big and strong isn't that athletic, right? Just just incredible athlete. It seems to be like a good person. I don't know. But he's been injured for most of his NBA career. Hasn't been able to really complete a full season. And so there's that. And now the porn star thing, right? And so things are hard times for Zion. Man mauled to death by tiger shark off of Egypt's Red Coast. There's a video out there. Of course, I'm not going to show it to you, but you can find it if you want to. Bam Margera sending estranged wife Nicole abusive texts after 5150. So he's on a psychiatric hold, but he still has his phone, and he's sending his wife abusive texts. And so he continues to, fall drastically. Madonna and Sam Smith getting vulgar with new collaboration called Vulgar. Yeah, nobody saw this coming, right? Madam Expiration Date. Singer Kellis, 43, is dating actor Bill Murray, 72. So, that's, there's only one reason for that, and it's money, possibly fame. Fans slam Shawn Mendes for teasing new single with photo of New York City under wildfire smoke. What the are we dying for? He was dragged for, I guess, posting that on Instant. Posted a photo, and this is the tweet here. What the hell are we dying for? Midnight yet? And he's promoting his new single. And it said here, people are dying in wildfires and getting sick by the poor air quality. And you're decided to make it an aesthetic, one Instagram user said. Who cares, right? Like, I'm just tired of the fake shaming of people. So I'll cover the Trump indictment tomorrow, Saturday, on my other channel. That's what I cover, those things. And, it's pretty bogus to me, but, whatever. Not really a major story as they're making it. History, they're saying, right? But along the same lines, I say this so often, and, it should give people relief. It should erase any doubt. So when we're talking about possibly depopulating, the planet, and the powers that be are, engaged in some sort of conspiracies to do that, right? No matter what way, whatever form it takes. Well, we know that to be at least factually true in terms of one thing, multiple things, but the poisons that they put into the environment and into our food. The food that people are given quite often is going to cause them heart disease and cancer. So it's killing them. They're putting out food that's going to kill them, They've put out chemicals. DDT is good for me. They've allowed companies to pollute the environment that has caused deaths, right? Those things are all factual. And we manufacture weapons, weapons that could destroy the earth and certainly destroy people. All kinds of horrific weapons, including, many just the simple guns and, simple bombs and hand grenades and things like this, but the bigger mass destructions, weapons of mass destruction. And we've been creating those. And there's food of mass destruction, and there's chemicals of mass destruction, there's pharmaceuticals of mass destruction, all the fentanyl addictions and all the addictions to opioids, and then all the side effects from medications and, the boop, right, all these things. And so some of these things we can prove, some of them are just openly admitted to. Science knows that there is carcinogens in foods that cause cancer. And, with cigarettes, for example, and all these other things, that we know that if you use these for a certain amount of time, or, some of the environments people work in that are poisonous to them, coal mines and, toxic factories and around radiation, it kills you, right? And so the people running the system have done a lot of work that's ultimately destructive and murders and kills people all across the globe. And so when people say, oh, that's a crazy conspiracy theory, well, we already know it's a fact that the powers that be, whether you want to call it the government, I call them the controllers, you want to call it one group or another, are all engaged in doing things that bring about the deaths and depopulation of not only our species, but, trees and plants and all kinds of different animals. And we've caused animals to go extinct because of our behaviors. We almost wiped out the raptor type of birds of prey like peregrine falcons and other birds using DDT, right? The DDT is good for me was a commercial. And, it was something that was killing insects, and then pigeons would eat it and other birds would eat it. And then the predatory birds would eat lots of those birds, and they were getting such a big dose of DDT. Their eggshells were too thin, and so they weren't able to reproduce. And there was under 100 like peregrine falcons. Some of the birds were basically right on the cusp of being depopulated, being extinct because of our actions. It's happened over and over again. And so, we suck, right? There's no debate about this. And so when you're talking about the smoke hitting us or any number of COVID or any of these things, that's what we know people in power have done to us in the past and will do in the future, because, it's a dark, destructive group of people that's not only destroying the world, but is self-destructive as well. Anyways, only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely born from the Apocalypse. And the Ascension, everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.